Okay, try that again. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this press conference with the President of the Treasury Board, Anita Anand, and a panel of experts. With that, my name is Chelsea Nash with the Hill Times. I'll be your moderator for this press conference, and I'll pass it over to the Minister.
Hello, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Avant de commencer, je tiens à souligner que nous sommes rassemblés sur le territoire traditionnel non cédé du peuple algonquin Anishinaabe. Thank you all for being here today. Canada's public service is one of the best in the world. Our public servants work hard every single day to deliver essential services to Canadians across our country. Et ils méritent un environnement où ils se sentent en sécurité, soutenus et capables d'atteindre leur plein potentiel. Creating a safe and inclusive workplace requires concrete actions to address all forms of racism and discrimination. Systemic racism and discrimination within the Canadian Public Service is a recognized issue, deeply rooted in historical and institutional biases. The work of eradicating all forms of discrimination demands relentless effort and systemic change. Alors que nous répondons aux questions de droit devant les tribunaux, le gouvernement s'efforce simultanément d'éliminer le racisme et la discrimination de nos institutions. Ce travail comprend l'adoption de lois, la création de programmes de soutien et de développement et l'utilisation de données désagrégées. Some of the efforts that have been made to advance these goals include reviewing the Employment Equity Act, amending the Canada Labour Code and the Public Service Employment Act, creating the Anti-Racism Secretariat, supporting an inclusive, diverse, and representative public service leadership through the Mosaic Leadership Development Program, soutenir l'avancement professionnel des groupes sous-représentés grâce au programme Mentorat Plus, établir un fonds pour la santé mentale et mettre en œuvre l'appel de l'action de 2021 sur la lutte contre le racisme, l'équité et l'inclusion dans la fonction publique fédérale. Au Canada, la diversité est un fait. Mais l'inclusion, c'est un choix. Notre fonction publique doit être à l'image du pays que nous travaillons à servir. Nous avons réalisé des progrès considérables au fil des ans, mais, bien sûr, il reste encore beaucoup à faire. C'est pourquoi je me suis engagée à garantir la sécurité du service public fédéral et à créer un environnement dans lequel les fonctionnaires se sentent à l'aise pour s'exprimer, être eux-mêmes et avoir la garantie de l'évolution de carrière. And that is why today's announcement is so important. We are taking another step to do better to support our public service. Joining me in person and virtually are the new members of a panel of experts who will provide recommendations to our government on the design and creation of a new restorative engagement program for public service employees. The Restorative Engagement Program is part of the $6.9 million committed in Budget 2023. The goal of a Restorative Engagement Program is to identify, through open dialogue, ways to address experiences of workplace harassment, discrimination, and violence, and drive cultural change in the public service. Les démarches réparatrices placent les personnes au centre de ce processus et mettent l'accent sur la compréhension des liens, des causes profondes, des circonstances et des répercussions pour apporter des changements systémiques. Over the coming months, the panel will engage organizations across government and then produce a public What We Heard report in early 2024. The recommendations from the report will inform the process to design the restorative engagement program. Sans plus tarder, je vais maintenant présenter les nouveaux membres. Le docteur Jude Cénat est le professeur agrégé à l'école de psychologie et le directeur du Centre interdisciplinaire pour la santé des Noirs et du laboratoire de recherche sur la vulnérabilité, les traumatismes, la résilience et la culture de l'Université d'Ottawa. Docteur, merci d'être ici avec nous aujourd'hui. Linda Crockett, sur la ligne, is an international expert on the topic of workplace psychological harassment and founder of the Canadian Institute of Workplace Bullying Resources, as well as the Canadian Institute of Workplace Harassment and Violence. Gayle Desmeules is an Indigenous mediator, facilitator, trainer, qualified mediator, and member of the Alternative Dispute Resolution Institute of Alberta and Canada. And Robert Neron is a senior arbitrator and workplace investigator and member of the Law Society of Ontario. Bienvenue d'être ici sur la ligne et dans la salle avec moi aujourd'hui. Nous sommes très fiers de toi, de vous, et nous regardons avec beaucoup d'intérêt le travail dans l'avenir de cette groupe, because you bring a wealth of knowledge and experience in the fields of clinical psychology, mediation, dispute resolution, and restorative justice. And as members of the panel of experts, you will be undertaking a very important task to help us create in the Government of Canada a restorative engagement program that will support public servants across the country. Merci encore une fois de votre temps et de votre dévouement pour effectuer le travail important. I will now turn it over to the members to say a few words, starting with Dr. Cénat, ici, à côté de moi. Thank you. Merci.
Merci, Madame la Ministre. Bonjour tout le monde. Comme il a été dit, je suis Jude Cénat, je suis professeur agrégé à l'École de psychologie à l'Université d'Ottawa. Je dirige le laboratoire Vulnérabilité, Trauma, Résilience et Culture et le Centre interdisciplinaire pour la santé des personnes noires. Je suis aussi titulaire de la chaire de recherche sur la santé des personnes noires à l'Université d'Ottawa. Je travaille sur 3 axes principaux. D'abord, les traumas interpersonnels et non interpersonnels, incluant le trauma racial et les nouvelles formes de trauma, dont la cyberintimidation. Je travaille aussi sur les disparités raciales en santé dans les services sociaux. J'ai développé au cours des dernières années des formations, des protocoles, des outils qui permettent de fournir des soins de santé culturellement adaptés et antiracistes. Ce sont des outils qui sont implantés dans des hôpitaux ici au Canada, mais également aux États-Unis, en Australie et ailleurs. Je travaille aussi en santé mentale globale, principalement en Afrique sur les maladies infectieuses et la santé mentale, et dans la Caraïbe sur la violence basée sur le genre et les conséquences, au fait, à la fois en termes de santé physique et santé mentale. Pour dire les choses, j'ai beaucoup hésité à rejoindre la commission sur les démarches réparatrices. J'ai beaucoup hésité parce que, pour moi, c'est un enjeu de responsabilité. J'ai eu à accompagner des individus et des groupes ayant fait face à différentes formes de discrimination dans la fonction publique. Mon engagement est guidé par cette responsabilité de s'assurer que chaque personne, chaque groupe et chaque communauté peuvent s'engager dans une démarche pouvant permettre d'être reconnus, d'être réparés et de pouvoir s'en guérir. La guérison est aussi un enjeu extrêmement important. Mon engagement est aussi envers la nouvelle génération, pour s'assurer que chaque personne qui rentrera dans le service public, peu importe son genre, sa couleur de peau, son orientation sexuelle, son handicap, ne sera ni discriminée, ni freinée, et pourra atteindre son plein potentiel. It is also my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Linda Crockett.
Thank you, Jude. Hello, everyone. My name is Linda Crockett. It is an honor to be here to work under the direction of Minister Anand, the LRMC team, and to be part of this expert panel. I am here as a part of this initiative for many reasons. First, I am a person with disabilities and a grandmother of a transgender grandson. I have my own lived experience with workplace harassment and discrimination. I am also a master's degree social worker in clinical practice and a trauma therapist who specializes in workplace psychological harassment and violence. I am the founder of the Canadian Institute of Workplace Bullying Resources, and over the last 13 years, I have worked with hundreds of leaders and thousands of employees, from providing them with trauma-informed consultations, coaching, trauma, counseling, focused all on prevention, intervention, repair, and recovery. I'm proud to say that I've also started the International Workplace Bullying Awareness Week, which is every October, and now we have 20 countries joining us from around the world. Because of the work I do and the people I see and the stories I hear, I'm extremely excited to be here. This initiative is of extreme importance for all public service employees. Injured workers need this restorative engagement program for their voices to be heard and for necessary changes to occur. After meeting this expert panel and all of the LRMC team members, seeing their hard work, passion, and authenticity in the intentions that they have, I believe in this initiative. I am confident that this is not just about talking a good talk. This is about walking that talk. I look forward to the development and the implementation of this restorative engagement program and the positive changes that will bring the public service employees. Thank you, and I am pleased to introduce you to our third panel member, Gayle Desmeules.
Thank you, Linda. Hello, bonjour, Tansei. It's an honor and privilege to have been asked to serve on this panel focused on making a difference in the lives of public service employees with such esteemed colleagues. I live in Lac-La-Biche, located 2 hours northeast of Edmonton, and respectfully acknowledge that I live, work, and play on the traditional and ancestral lands of Treaty 6 territory and Métis Nation homeland. When I think about how I can contribute, what motivated me to accept the invitation to serve on the panel, I want to start by acknowledging the influences of my great-grandmother, grandparents, parents, along with Métis and Cree elders for their guidance and traditional teachings rooted in natural law, which laid the foundation for my restorative lens and relational approach. For example, think of a buffalo separated from its herd. Its safety and sense of well-being are diminished. Or envision a plant in a meadow connected to a diverse ecosystem. It would fail to thrive without access to regular water, nutrient soil, sunlight, and so forth. Nature shows us that all living things are interconnected and interrelated for survival and to thrive. For instance, think about a time when you felt alone or uncomfortable in a room of people or a workplace setting. Transferable to human systems, restorative engagement focuses on how we connect, relate, and interact with each other to ensure workplaces are safe, welcoming, inclusive environments for employees to thrive. Being a Métis woman and child of a residential school survivor, I have a unique understanding of the impact of colonization and discrimination. I focus my research and practice on facilitating healing and reconciliation processes when hurt and harm have happened, regardless of the setting or ethnicity. I've come to believe if you're doing restorative justice, you're doing human rights. I hope my experience in community development and facilitating restorative justice processes and mediating workplace conflicts connected to racism, discrimination, and different forms of violence will provide me with good listening skills and useful insight into the structure and design of a restorative engagement program. I look forward to walking with everyone, employee networks, equity-seeking groups, bargaining agents, departments, and agencies across government on this restorative journey. Now I'd like to introduce the fourth panel member, Robert Neron. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Thank you, Gayle. Kwe. Bonjour tout le monde. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Neron, and I'm a lawyer and a senior arbitrator. I've been a member of the Law Society of Ontario for the past 26 years, and I was also a member of the Law Society of Nunavut for 10 years. I feel very privileged to be a member of the expert panel. I hope to contribute directly to changing the way that equity and inclusion have been addressed in the federal public service. C'est aussi un honneur pour moi de faire partie du groupe de travail et c'est avec plaisir que j'apporte mon expertise afin de contribuer au groupe d'experts du programme de démarche réparatrice. In addition to having worked in private practice as an immigration and refugee lawyer for a diverse clientele, I've been the Assistant Deputy Chairperson for the Central and for the Eastern region of the Immigration and Refugee Board of Canada for 7 years. And I also serve as an Immigration and Refugee Board member for 12 years. More recently, I spent 7 years as an independent adjudicator for the Indian Residential School Adjudication Secretariat, which was established as part of the negotiated settlement between the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit representative and the government of Canada to settle the largest class action in Canada history. Finally, I have been very involved for the past 12 years as an independent investigator and as a third-party neutral in investigating allegations of harassment, discrimination, and violence in the federal workplace. This experience as a workplace investigator gave me firsthand knowledge of what some public servants from various departments and agencies are experiencing in their workplace. J'ai donc une connaissance de premier plan de ce que certains vivent qui sont membres de la diversité dans leur milieu de travail. Cette expérience constitue pour moi un atout comme membre du groupe de travail. En terminant, in addition to bringing my professional experience to the expert panel, I am privileged to be part of the process, and I look forward to reviewing the comments that we will receive from the diverse group and the representative that we are consulting. Thank you. Merci. Chimiigwech.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Et maintenant, nous pouvons recevoir des questions de groupe ici, si vous voulez, si vous avez des questions.
Okay. I understand we have until 2 p.m. for questions. First, we'll go to Julienne Lapointe with Radio-Canada.
Oui, bonjour, Madame Anand. Peut-être nous expliquer qu'est-ce que ça peut changer concrètement, ce que vous annoncez aujourd'hui, comment convaincre les fonctionnaires que ça va amener à des changements concrets, puis que ce n'est pas simplement un exercice de relations publiques, ce que vous êtes en train de faire?
Pas du tout, ce n'est pas un exercice dans les relations publiques. Premièrement, c'est une responsabilité dans notre budget 2023 d'avoir un programme de démarche réparatrice. Ça, c'est la raison pour laquelle nous sommes ici aujourd'hui pour annoncer l'équipe, mais aussi pour continuer de travailler sur les questions de discrimination dans notre service public. Donc, ça, c'est un processus maintenant de accomplir notre responsabilité dans le budget 2023, mais aussi de continuer avec le processus pour développer ce programme de démarche réparatrice. Et le groupe ici va travailler avec eux-mêmes, mais aussi avec tout le monde dans le service public pour développer ce programme. Par exemple, ils vont développer la structure du programme. Ils vont parler avec des groupes dedans notre service public. Ils vont développer la stratégie pour notre gouvernement et nous allons le suivre pour améliorer la situation pour les gens racialisés dans notre service public. Et moi-même, comme une ministre racialisée moi-même, c'est crucial de continuer avec ce travail. Comme vous savez, j'ai travaillé sur ces questions quand j'étais la ministre de la Défense nationale dans les forces armées canadiennes. Mais maintenant, ça c'est un projet comme avant, mais aussi pour tout le monde dans le service public. Donc, nous continuons de développer les appuis et aussi les programmes pour les gens racialisés dans les services publics. Et ça, c'est le travail de cette équipe ici. Mais je vais tourner aussi à mon ami ici, mon collègue ici à côté de moi, si vous avez quelque chose à ajouter aussi.
Moi, je pense qu'il faut veiller, justement, et c'est aussi le premier travail revient au panel, veiller à ce que ce qui sera proposé, que ce soit des choses qui soient applicables, mais aussi d'indiquer la voie pour que ces choses-là fassent un vrai changement dans la vie des gens, parce que ce sera le plus important. Après tout, on peut développer le meilleur programme, mais si le programme n'est pas appliqué, ça ne pourra pas apporter de vrais changements, et c'est pour ça qu'il faut travailler avec tous les groupes et être à l'écoute. Je pense que c'est le maître mot, il faut être à l'écoute de chaque groupe, à l'écoute de chaque réseau d'employés et écouter ce qu'ils ont à nous dire, pouvoir travailler avec eux et arriver à quelque chose qui réponde à leurs besoins réels.
Une question sur un autre sujet d'un collègue de Radio-Canada. Considérant le contexte inflationniste et les dommages économiques aux entreprises, comment Ottawa compte intervenir dans le conflit de la voie maritime pour faciliter une entente rapidement?
Est-ce que vous pouvez expliquer la question? Parce que, qu'est-ce que ça veut dire maritime? Est-ce que ça veut dire les provinces atlantiques? Ou
non, la voie maritime, donc avec le conflit en ce moment qu'on voit sur la voie maritime. Qu'est-ce que quelqu'un en anglais?
St. Lawrence Seaway.
Oui.
Je comprends la question maintenant. Merci beaucoup.
J'aurais peut-être dû vous donner un peu de contexte. On change de sujet.
Merci beaucoup. Je sais que mon collègue, le ministre O'Regan, travaille très fort sur cette question pendant le week-end aussi. Et je vais laisser les réponses à lui pour répondre à cette question. Mais bien sûr, nous savons que les meilleures ententes sont à table avec tout le monde là. Ça, c'est prudent de manière fiscale aussi. Donc, je sais qu'il travaille très fort sur cette question avec toutes les parties prenantes dans cet enjeu.
OK. Antoine Trépanier, le droit.
Bonjour, ma question est pour vous, M. Cénat. De vos observations, de vos études, quel constat vous faites de la fonction publique fédérale actuelle? Si un programme comme celui-là, si un groupe auquel vous allez participer est si nécessaire, comment vous décrivez la situation actuelle?
Je pourrais personnellement expliquer ce que j'entends. Ce que j'entends, c'est beaucoup de groupes qui disent qu'ils continuent de vivre de la discrimination raciale particulièrement. Beaucoup de groupes qui expliquent que dans leur situation actuelle, certaines personnes issus des communautés noires, par exemple, vont rentrer dans le service public, dans la fonction publique à un poste et ils vont y rester pendant très, très, très longtemps et ils vont former ceux qui vont être leurs managers. Maintenant, la question, c'est qu'il faut écouter tout le monde. Et c'est ce que nous allons faire. Ce que nous allons faire, c'est de pouvoir écouter tout le monde, avoir une perspective qui soit une perspective globale de la situation. Et avec cette perspective globale-là, ça va pouvoir nous permettre de pouvoir développer quelque chose, une démarche réparatrice qui répond aux besoins de chaque groupe et surtout aux besoins réels des gens. Pas quelque chose qui soit juste dans les grands mots, mais quelque chose qui pourra s'appliquer et qui pourra permettre de pouvoir répondre à ces besoins réels-là pour que, comme je l'ai dit dans mes propos introductifs, le plus important aussi, c'est la nouvelle génération. De s'assurer que les étudiants qui rentrent en stage dans la fonction publique, qu'ils puissent atteindre leur plein potentiel, qu'ils puissent comprendre que, ah ben tiens, c'est un endroit où ils se sentent bien, c'est un endroit où ils peuvent travailler, ils peuvent exceller, et s'ils excellent, ben, ils peuvent continuer à progresser dans les rangs. Donc, je pense que c'est le plus important.
Ma prochaine question est pour vous, Madame Anand. D'abord, jusqu'où vous êtes prête à aller? Est-ce que vous êtes prête à accepter aujourd'hui de toutes les recommandations qu'on va vous formuler au printemps ou à l'hiver 2024? Et des expériences au sein de la fonction publique que j'ai recueillies dans les derniers mois, c'est beaucoup, on se plaint, mais il n'y a pas grand-chose qui se passe. Et souvent, on accuse la gestion dans la fonction publique de ne pas en faire assez. Je donne par exemple l'Agence des services frontaliers qui demande le nettoyage complet de la haute gestion, par exemple. Est-ce que le gouvernement fédéral est prêt à aller jusque-là en vertu des réponses que vous allez obtenir de votre groupe?
Merci beaucoup pour la question, bien sûr. Premièrement, je voudrais dire que ça, ce n'est la première fois que nous avons examiné la question de discrimination dans le service public. Bien sûr, nous avons, par exemple, un examen de la loi sur l'équité en matière d'emploi. Nous avons déjà aussi examiné le Code canadien du travail et la loi sur l'emploi dans la fonction publique. Aussi, nous avons introduit des nouveaux programmes comme le programme Mosaïque Leadership et aussi nous avons établi un fonds pour la santé mentale et appuyé l'avancement professionnel des fonctionnaires fédéraux noirs. Donc ça, c'est le travail d'avant, mais aussi nous devons continuer d'être proactifs. Et ça, c'est la raison pour laquelle nous avons une obligation dans le budget 2023 de continuer avec ce travail. Donc ça, c'est la raison pour laquelle nous sommes ici aujourd'hui, pour annoncer la prochaine étape dans ce processus d'adresser la discrimination dans le service public. Et ça, c'est un fait. Et ça, c'est une réalité. Mais ça veut dire que nous devons être proactifs et continuer ce travail aussi. Donc, bien sûr, je voudrais recevoir le programme, je voudrais suivre le programme que je vais recevoir parce que ce sont des experts ici. Ça, c'est un processus objectif. Ce n'est pas moi qui va décider le programme et les étapes de programme. Je voudrais entendre les recommandations de ce groupe d'experts et après ça, mettre en œuvre les recommandations, bien sûr. Donc, j'entends le point de vue que nous n'avons pas fait le progrès nécessaire dans le leadership. Je comprends bien ce sentiment. Donc, comme ministre, je dois continuer d'essayer de faire plus en plus de travail pour améliorer la situation pour les minorités, pas seulement les gens racialisés, mais toutes les minorités dans notre gouvernement. Donc, je voudrais aussi pas seulement recevoir les recommandations, mais aussi est-ce qu'il y a une possibilité d'appliquer les recommandations d'autres groupes dans notre gouvernement? Ça, c'est une autre question. Donc, il y a un temps ici d'être proactif. Et comme j'ai dit, je ne sais pas si vous étiez ici la semaine passée, mais je suis ici comme député, comme ministre, de continuer de travailler pour les minorités et pour les personnes racialisées dans notre service public. Et je voudrais le faire et continuer de faire ça. Merci.
Okay, Catherine Morrison, the Ottawa Citizen.
Hi, bonjour. Thanks so much for your time today. So the news release that was shared this afternoon on the subject mentioned that similar programs are being used increasingly across Canada, including by the Canadian Armed Forces and the Department of National Defence. And I was just hoping you could share a little bit about how this program will resemble the others and how it'll be different as well.
Okay, I will just start off very briefly because it will be to the team to be able to speak to that particular issue and the way they may take comparisons and lessons from the work that is happening across government, including in the Canadian Armed Forces. I will say from my perspective, I learned an immense amount from my work as Minister of National Defence in terms of what is possible in developing restorative engagement programs and the work that they are doing there to underpin and support women who have been subject to sexual harassment or sexual misconduct or treatment of other minorities in the Canadian Armed Forces, in my view, could serve as valuable lessons for the work that this committee is doing. But again, I am not a member of the committee. I'll be watching their work with interest. So I think it would be, c'est une bonne idée de passer la parole à eux. I don't know if you would like to start or if anybody on the line would like to respond as well, but it is a very appropriate question, I think, and bien sûr, nous pouvons entendre d'autres membres aussi d'équipe.
I will let one of my colleagues go, maybe Robert or Gayle or Linda.
Hello.
ahead.
All right. Thank you for your question. Top of mind for sure is working with and finding what's there and in this engagement process. So there has been an interdepartmental advisory working group that's been established. It's made up of public servants from all of the departments and locations across Canada who have experience and expertise in diversity, inclusion, harassment, discrimination, conflict management, labor relations, disability management, restorative justice, and more, of which Canadian Armed Forces are sitting at that table. So they are providing expertise and guidance, and we're working with them at all aspects of this, and have met with them a couple times already with this engagement process and throughout the design phases of the restorative engagement program. So we're just capturing collective wisdom here.
Thank you. Gayle?
And I guess this kind of follows that last question, but I'd love to know, given that the Auditor General's report was released last week that discussed this subject, I'm wondering if you hope that some of your recommendations will touch on some of the major concerns in that report, especially about how inequalities are measured, how progress is reported, and employees feel fear of reprisal for bringing forward issues of discrimination, as well as managers' role with accountability. I'm wondering if you're planning to, really take a look at, really consider those concerns while you're putting together your recommendations.
Anybody from the committee who would like to respond?
Maybe Linda or Gayle.
Linda, Gayle, or Robert?
Linda, you're muted. Thank you for letting me know that, Gayle. I think your points are incredibly important. We cannot not deal with those. So I appreciate you bringing those forward. People who are being afraid of coming forward, retaliation, reprisal, critically important issue for us to address. So we will not be missing those.
But I would like to add at this stage, though, it's a bit premature. We don't know, we don't hear, we don't get the surveys, we don't heard from the group what our recommendation will be. We don't know, but definitely we will hear, and with those, what the issues that have been raised will be addressed, that for sure.
Thanks so much.
Okay, Marco Vigliotti, iPolitics.
Thanks, Minister. I have a quick question that's not on this topic. I know you're continuing to look for that effort to find $15 billion in savings across government. Can you give us an update on that work and whether or not it will be reflected in the upcoming fall economic statement?
Actually, the work is ongoing, and we will be tabling the first part of the results of the spending review in the supplementary estimates in November, and then again in the main estimates in the first quarter of next year. You are going to continue to see work being done on this issue. We are looking for mere cents on the dollar, and at a time when Canadian households across this country are examining their pocketbooks, the Government of Canada is no different. We need to uncover where there may be funds that we can redirect to the most serious of priorities facing Canadians right now: affordability, housing, and the reconciliation process that our government is committed to.
Yeah, and just a quick follow-up on that, the money that is been allocated to help with humanitarian efforts and other efforts in Israel and Gaza, is that going to impact the work that you're doing? I'm sure it's going to appear something in the supplementary estimates, but do we have enough bandwidth to get this out there while you're still finding those cost savings?
We do. The spending review, as I said, is very much mere cents on the dollar. $15 billion over 5 years is the total amount, but it is, as broken down on a ministry-to-ministry basis or department-to-department basis, is, as I said, a fairly minimal amount, being mere cents on the dollar in terms of the overall government spend. And so our objectives, whether domestic or international, will remain in place and well-funded, including the humanitarian aid that is being directed towards the dire situation in Gaza.
Okay. Mike Lapointe, The Hill Times.
Thank you. So I'm just looking at the summer 2023 update from the restorative engagement program, and something that stuck out to me was that the government has received 6,300 requests, which is more than double what was anticipated. And what I'm wondering, is that going to will that cause an increase in the $6.9 million that has already been allocated in budget 2023, given the level of engagement with this program at this point? Just wondering about the dollars and cents about this, if that will have an effect that we can see in the fall supplementary estimates.
The $6.9 million allocated in budget 2023 stands as the funding that is allocated to this program and will not be undercut by what is happening in terms of the spending review. I will have to come to you with specifics in particular, but as a general matter, we are continuing with the priorities of this government while also looking for funds that are simply being underutilized or not utilized. Outsourcing, executive travel, those types of issues where savings can be found, but the funding remains, generally speaking.
Okay, we just have one more question online. So Judy Trin, CTV, go ahead.
Hi there, Minister Anand. I was wondering if you can address the policies right now that you have in place for public servants in regards to Israel and Gaza. We know that in the private sector, employees have been subjected to discipline, have lost their jobs. CEOs have stepped down for comments in regards to their stance on Israel and Palestine. What is your guidance, and what have you said to public service employees? We know that within your own caucus, there are members calling for a ceasefire. What are the boundaries? There are concerns that people's political views will be censored, and I'd just like to know where the government stands on that.
Okay, thank you for the question. The first and foremost point I'd like to make is that Canada has unequivocally condemned the terror attack by Hamas on Israel, and the government of Canada has grave concerns with the deteriorating humanitarian situation in Gaza. My colleague, Minister Joly, is in the region again to discuss efforts to support Canadians in the region, and we announced recently $50 million additional dollars in humanitarian aid, and are assisting with departures for Canadians. In terms of the overall public service, we are very much focused on ensuring an inclusive environment, and indeed diversity and inclusivity are a mark of our work in the federal government, and we will continue to support those goals inside and outside government. Thank you.
If I can follow up on that, please. When you say that you are going to support diversity and inclusivity in the public sector, in the federal government, does that mean that there is bandwidth, there is leeway for federal employees to speak about their opinions on Israel-Palestine without fear of retaliation, discrimination, harassment in the workplace, and as well as perhaps discipline? Like, where are the boundaries to that? I'm sure you have put in place some guidance.
There is a code of values and ethics for public servants. On this particular issue, guidelines have not been provided.
One more question in the room, if you have time, Minister.
Sure.
Just Kimberly Molina, CBC Ottawa.
Minister, it's been nearly 4 months since 1.7 million public service healthcare plan members saw their coverage switch from Sun Life to Canada Life. We've heard hundreds of complaints from people on a variety of issues. What measures did the government take prior to July 1st to ensure that Canada Life could handle the plan volume? And what steps is the government taking now to ensure that there is better quality of service from Canada Life?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for the question. I'd like to start off by saying that 99% of persons have successfully enrolled in the Canada Life plan. And the main problem that we have seen and that I have been monitoring is the wait times at the call centers. In order to ensure that Canada Life is fulfilling its responsibilities to Canadian public servants, their families, and retirees, I have been diligently following up with their group, meeting with them, asking for updates relating to the work that they are doing to ameliorate the situation that is at the heart of your question. Wait times at call centers and difficulties in contacting Canada Life employees to ask questions are unacceptable, and I have made that point clear to the leadership at Canada Life. I have also asked them to detail how their services are improving for Canadian public servants, their families, and retirees, so that there is a trajectory in the right direction towards ameliorating this situation. It is something that I and my team are very much on top of, recognizing the difficulties that have been existing to date.
Sorry, can you just address the first part about what the government did prior to July 1st to ensure that they'd be able to handle this call volume? Because we've had people compare it almost to Phoenix with its rollout.
The Government of Canada, and of course that was before I became the minister in this role, that actually happened towards the end of July, as you know, but was very much on top of the contractual obligations that Canada Life has with the Government of Canada, as well as the way in which some of the unpredictable difficulties were going to be addressed as soon as possible. And so those are still two areas that we as a government will stay very much on top of, the contract itself as well as what can be done in the short term. In my view, it is not enough for us to wait to see how things improve. I actually have been pressing Canada Life to ensure that the situation is going to improve. For example, they did add more staff to the call centers to address the volume that they were seeing. And it is those types of measures that we will continue to insist are in place so that all federal public servants, their families and retirees can have access to their benefits, which is of crucial importance. Bien sûr, quelle partie? C'est inacceptable d'avoir les temps d'attente au centre d'appel. Et je sais que presque 100% de fonctionnaires sont engagés maintenant avec le Canada Vie. Mais nous continuons de souligner l'importance d'améliorer la situation pour les retraités, les fonctionnaires, leurs familles. Pourquoi? Parce que ce sont des avantages nécessaires pour vivre pour les fonctionnaires. Donc, c'est un processus, mais je voudrais dire que c'est inacceptable d'avoir des temps d'attente au centre d'appel et nous continuons de souligner l'importance de diminuer ces temps d'attente, mais aussi de s'assurer que tout le monde peut accéder leurs avantages. Ça, c'est nécessaire de continuer d'être une fonctionnaire dans le gouvernement du Canada. Merci beaucoup.
Just because my second part was sort of more of a clarification on the first, can I just ask a follow-up? What message do you have for plan members who were told their coverage wasn't going to change on July 1st? They would only get more additions, yet right now they're having items that are being denied, things that used to be covered when the plan was with Sun Life.
I would like to ask for those issues to be reviewed. I think that it is important for us to examine who is receiving coverage and for what, and what was within the actual contract that was signed with the Government of Canada. That was not under my purview at the time, but as a general matter, I have sympathy for those who are seeking coverage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Minister.
Thank you.